Any health-related information on the following show provides general information only. Content presented on any show by any host or guest should not be substituted for a doctor's advice. Always consult your physician before beginning any new diet, exercise, or treatment program.
Welcome to Accelerated Health TV and Radio Show. I'm your host, Sara Banta. I'm a health coach, natural supplement expert, and a busy mom of three. Make sure you hit the subscribe button below so you're notified every week with my new podcast on Mondays and Tuesdays. And if you haven't already, join my free group coaching on Telegram with the link below. There is no downside. You get these supplements, you get this advice, and then you've got questions and no one's there to answer them. Well, that's what I'm doing with the group coaching. I answer on a daily basis, and I teach you with new articles and videos on a daily basis as well. So you will be a part of a like-minded group to support you on your journey, in addition to truly taking control of your health. My goal, I can't do it alone, is to reach everyone on earth with eyes to see and ears to hear my message of healing. So please help me with that goal. Share this podcast with a few of your friends who may need my help. And I'm so excited about today's guest and our topic, Dr. Anna Cabeca, the girlfriend doctor. She is honest. That's what I love about her. She's an open book. She cares about you. And with 30 years of experience, 3 board certifications, a blend of cutting-edge quantum science and intuition, she is here to help you. So welcome, Anna. How are you today?
I am great. Thank you so much for having me.
I love having you, and I love our conversations, and there are very few people out there that are so knowledgeable and so honest, because we have our own real stories as well. And I'm excited to talk about our topic of intimacy. We know that hormones and menopause affect your sleep, they affect your weight gain, your hair, your skin, vaginal dryness, all of these other things, but no one talks about the intimacy part. And I'm really excited to talk about that, because that truly is one of the most important aspects of life. And it plays with our hormones. So I'm really excited to get into it. Why don't you quickly just give everyone a background of you and what made you so passionate about this topic?
Yeah, thank you so much. I love talking about this topic because I think the most powerful hormone in our body is connection, is oxytocin, and that's the hormone of connection. And being connected with people is what life's about, right? We don't want to die alone, sad and lonely. And but how we live every day and our physiology to empower it, it's part of being able to make and manifest our own, internal pharmacy and make that oxytocin. So without it, we tend to become disconnected. And I learned this through my own journey. As you said, Sarah, I'm triple board certified. I'm an OB-GYN. I trained at Emory University, which I consider one of the best universities in the world. And I came out with my doctor's bag full of tools. But when it came to really getting down to the nitty gritty, especially where sexual health is concerned, in my own life and my own life trials and travails, and my doctor's bag was empty. So it set me out really early in 1999 looking for answers. And so it took me on a journey into bioidentical hormones, functional medicine, digging deep into the aspects of sexual health that go beyond sex. And so, that's what brings me to this point. And I'm so passionate about this because as we repair some of these issues or, enhance our just consciousness around it, that the ability to connect and have a better than ever life and better than ever relationships is actually attainable.
Right. You mentioned the hormone oxytocin, and a lot of people don't know what that is. They hear about testosterone, estrogen, progesterone. Maybe we can go into how oxytocin, how serotonin, dopamine, how those motivating, happy hormones react in the body and affect the other hormones, which then affect your intimacy issues and the bedroom.
Yeah. So, and most people don't realize there's a hierarchy of hormones. And with the hierarchy of hormones, I always like to consider, like I spent, the prime years of my life and hundreds of thousands of dollars on my medical education and to study estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, even DHEA. So all of those really key reproductive hormones that we focus on as a gynecologist and obstetrician. And then I find that, well, those are really minor hormones. And if you can compare it to a university or a school setting and say, okay, we have all these students in the university and each of them have their own goals, their own purpose, their own, passions, their own, idiosyncrasies, all of that good stuff. That's like all the hormone, all the these minor hormones, estrogen, progesterone, even melatonin and vitamin D would be in this route. So as all the students have their individual focus, so do our hormones. And now think of the professors at the university. So the professors at the university keep things in order, give direction and guidance and development for those hormones. And if your professors are, let's say, come to school with a hangover and they turn the lights down and just show a movie or whatever, there's disruption amongst that student body without a doubt, right? They're not paying attention, they're not focused, they're not in alignment, all of those important things. And so those hormones, those professors of the university, I like to compare them to insulin and cortisol. Insulin and cortisol are two of our major hormones that really do affect our minor hormones in so many ways. And then if we think of the president of the university or the dean of the college, then we consider the most powerful hormone in our body, and that is the hormone oxytocin, the master regulator. And when oxytocin is absent or decreased, or, then the rest of there's disruption among the rest of the hormones in our body as well.
Wow, I love the way you explained that, because in my practice and my passion is to detox people. And I feel like the two most prominent things that accelerate aging are insulin resistance and toxicity. And I know you talk about both yourself, but to think of insulin and cortisol as two of the main hormones that are affecting everything else, it just makes sense. So here we are focusing on insulin resistance and insulin affecting metabolic disease, heart disease, PCOS, dementia, Alzheimer's, weight gain, fatty liver disease, all of these things. We're not thinking about the fact that it could be affecting your female hormones and how you're feeling in the bedroom. And then cortisol being that stress hormone. And I know you've talked about acute stress versus chronic stress. Most of us are under chronic stress. And I call it the dirty cupcake, because you don't even get to eat that chocolate cupcake and enjoy it to have that weight gain happen, right? Because cortisol is a fat storing hormone. Well, what else is it doing? It's causing your body to create more fatty liver, to deplete your adrenals, to have all of these other negative side effects in your body. And that, of course, is going to affect your female hormones and your intimacy hormones and your oxytocin. Would it be fair to say that when cortisol's high, oxytocin would be low?
Absolutely. And that's the thing. There's this yo-yo situation when cortisol is high, oxytocin is driven low, which makes sense. You're stressed. There's no time to stop and hug and, you know, be kind and befriending, right? There's that stress. So you get into this isolation, fight, flight, or freeze mode. And so when cortisol is up for a long time, cortisol becomes suppressed from the paraventricular nucleus in our brain. So it becomes suppressed. And now you're in this dangerous state where cortisol is low and oxytocin is low. And this is the state of burnout. I consider it the physiology of burnout, physiology of divorce, physiology of disconnect, physiology of depression.
Have you seen studies of people going through divorce or depressed and actually seeing their levels of oxytocin and seeing a pattern?
Yeah, I haven't seen studies like that per se, but clinically, when we test, or it's very hard to test oxytocin blood levels. There's only a couple labs in the country. Meridian Valley is one of them that will do an oxytocin test and assess it because oxytocin is so fragile. It really is a high vibration, very hard to pinpoint and isolate in the blood. And when we do look at oxytocin in the blood, it has to be fresh frozen plasma and shipped really overnight to one of these two labs. And so Meridian Valley is doing some urinary testing of oxytocin, which is interesting too. But again, it's not specific. So I always have clients do a questionnaire and I have them, go through my oxytocin quiz, do that questionnaire. And when I'm physically with one of my patients and assessing it, there are physical signs that are associated with low oxytocin. And so identifying that, and then we can test with either an oxytocin nasal spray or troche and see if we get a response or if we don't, to really kind of assess the receptor sites for oxytocin as well.
And does oxytocin work? I know it's in opposition to cortisol. Does it have a parallel pathway with dopamine or serotonin or some of the other happy hormones?
So, where oxytocin's made is really like it's down the survival pathway. So with serotonin, absolutely. High levels of oxytocin are associated with higher levels of serotonin. And that definitely is consistent. Also, melatonin. So, with all just think of, from melatonin, we make oxytocin. So, when we're deficient with melatonin, when we're exposed to blue light and, disrupted sleep patterns, our oxytocin levels can naturally fall.
I can only imagine that oxytocin would also be related to thyroid health, only because most people that are suffering from depression are actually suboptimal thyroid, which the thyroid is the master endocrine gland and it affects the ovaries and the sex hormones. And are you seeing patterns like that as well with the thyroid?
Sometimes I have to look. I haven't really seen much research on the thyroid and oxytocin. I've seen research on oxytocin and cardiovascular health, on neurologic health, on immune system, even in the cases of long COVID and even tinnitus, oxytocin helps that. Longevity, muscle cell regeneration, or of course, orgasm and sexual health. Those are I almost take that for granted now, but it's interesting how much research is being done on oxytocin and longevity and, and repair, boosting our immune system.
So most women are coming to you. They're perimenopausal, menopausal, and saying, okay, I love my husband. There's just nothing there anymore. I don't know what to do. There's no libido. What do you tell them to do?
Yeah, just thinking about a patient I saw the other day from Latin America. She flew in to see me, and at 36 years old, she had a hysterectomy with both her ovaries removed for endometriosis. Initially, she wasn't given on any hormone therapy for almost a year until she sought it out separately from another practice, and she was put on testosterone pellets and estrogen pellets, and said, okay, this will help you. And then she was losing hair. She continues to have vaginal pain, dryness, inability to have sex. And I'm seeing her now when she's 41 years old. So 5 years after hysterectomy. And she's been struggling with this. She says, I'm young. I love my husband. I don't want to have sex with him. It hurts. It's just painful. I power through, but he knows it hurt. He knows that I'm uncomfortable, and he feels, it's just creating a disconnect in our relationship. And I look at in this situation, right? Like, what's happening in this situation? First of all, we have to address the three issues that are affecting intimacy, that cause us to get into the boredom or the ennui or the roommates instead of lovers, right? We're kind of separating. And that is the issue of discomfort. So vaginal pain, pelvic pain. So, and also issues of desire. So that can be hormonal. And the third thing is disconnect. So the 3 Ds: discomfort, desire, and disconnect. And those are the majority of the issues with loss of intimacy, discomfort, desire, and disconnect. And so review all of those things. And with my client, of course, I'm doing hormones and lab tests, doing a physical exam. And in the case of endometriosis can really settle in the peritoneum, even though she had surgery and she was cleared out from endometriosis, but it can cause inflammation in the intestines. It can be a result of or contributor to leaky gut issues. So you got to heal the gut, and the vagina is a reflection of that. So here she is young at 41, surgically menopausal with very atrophic, painful vaginal tissue and inflamed. And so that's one thing that I'm going to address with her. And then the trauma that she's been through, not feeling, she goes, and she's a high level executive. She goes, I don't feel at home in my body. It's foreign to me. I don't understand what's happening to me anymore. And so addressing those issues, and oxytocin may come in, again, focusing on how she can make it naturally. And that's the first step. And we can make it in so many ways naturally. So, but identifying that it's not in her head, it's not something that she can think differently about. I mean, she really has to focus on the actions and the thoughts too that help create oxytocin hormone. And then the other is the desire. And in her case, the 2 reasons for lack of desire, I mean, zero libido for this young 41-year-old, is the discomfort, the pain with intercourse, and as well as the disconnect. You feel dissociated. You're not at home with your body. And I always tell my clients, if you know something's going to hurt every time you do it, you're not going to want to do it. As much as you love the other person, you're just not going to want to.
You brought up so many things that don't just apply to intimacy, but just overall life, is being at home in your body, feeling confident, which if you don't feel confident or one with yourself, how are you going to feel intimate with someone else, right? And it's that mind piece, the mind-body connection. And if you are doing all of the right things, the diet, the exercise, the sleep, all of that doesn't matter if you are not in a good mental space, because like we talked about, that stress and that cortisol is going to react to your mental state because your mind doesn't know what's real and what's not real. So if you are playing a program in your brain, like you're talking about, it's going to be painful, it's going to be painful, it's going to be painful. Well, it's already painful before it even starts. And that's going to create cortisol to increase and create even more of a disconnect. And one thing that I love that you talked about, which I don't hear a lot of people talk about, is that some of these hormones are acidic versus alkaline. And we have all heard that, acidity is a feeding ground for disease, for cancer, for all of that. It's inflammatory. It's all bad things. So cortisol is acidic, correct? And oxytocin is more alkaline. But
Absolutely.
that mind piece is so important. And I'm just thinking through, like, when you're dealing with something just yourself, it's easier because you're not feeling like you owe someone else something. But when you have a partner who is desiring you and you feel like you owe them something, or you want to at least be there for them, it puts that extra layer of stress on you as you're dealing with all of these hormonal changes. And it's almost as if you, Dr. Anna, need to be meeting with the husband and the wife together, and not just the wife, and walking her through this. Does that make sense what I'm saying?
Oh, absolutely. That's exactly correct. And that's where cortisol creates this huge disconnect. It breaks down healthy boundaries, whether they're in our intestines or in our life. And it's acidifying. It will rob Peter to pay Paul on our physiology. It will take minerals from our bones to keep homeostasis in our body. So yeah, no, that's exactly it.
And I love that you mentioned leaky gut, because leaky gut is the source of so many physical diseases. And it's, of course, reflected in the bedroom as well, because that's where your nutrients are absorbed. That's where autoimmune disease can be started. That's where you could be recycling these xenoestrogens that could be causing estrogen dominance and hormonal imbalance. But that is another thing to make sure you're addressing, not just for your intimacy, but for your overall health. I want to talk about the endocrine disruptors, because this is a topic I'm very passionate about as far as disease and estrogen dominance in the body and unexplained weight gain and all of these things that we're being exposed to that even 5 to 10 years ago were not at the level they are now. And I think about my husband in the sense that he eats clean. I feed him organic wild meat, and he exercises and does all the things. But if I'm out of my organic dish soap, he will go to the store and get Dawn. And I will say, no, how can you wash your dishes that you're going to eat off of with these chemicals that are full of estrogen or endocrine disruptors? And he will say, oh my God, you're going off the rails, Sarah. And that's just, I can't do everything. But we have to, unfortunately, because
Oh, absolutely.
it could be that soap that is causing the estrogen dominance and this disruption in our hormones that is going to affect us in the bedroom.
Yeah, I want to give a good example. I have a cousin, Andre Sweden, who is a sommelier, a world famous sommelier and gastronomique. He's just amazing. He has incredibly refined taste buds. And I was having wine with him one day, and he's, he took the glass and he said, I want to show you something. He says, drink, here's a little bit of wine in this glass. And then he cleaned another glass after one had already been cleaned through a standard way. And he cleaned it out, wiped it dry. And then he said, try the wine in this glass. And it's the same wine, but it tastes very different from the glass that was cleaned with regular detergent, dishwasher detergent or whatever at the restaurant, and just clean glass. And that was so eye-opening for me. I'm like, oh my gosh, we're washing dishes with chemicals and there's a residue on those dishes, our glassware, our plateware, and we're imbibing that. And it's not designed, it's not designed for the human body at all. And in fact, it's very disruptive. And you think of those layers. Another area, again, addressing vaginal and vulvar health, is the vulvar dryness. And so the external part of our lady bits, the vulvar dryness, and lichen sclerosis. And there's so much more lichen sclerosis now than there was 30 years ago when I started my medical practice. So what's happening there? And you think about the bleach in our detergent and the chemicals and the chemicals in our detergent. So you think about a couple of those things and you have to wonder, and pads, not to mention sanitary napkins, pads, tampons, and the chemicals that are in those products. And that's on our vulvar area, which is very vascular, because we know it has to be vascular. And the vagina has to be very vascular. In other words, good blood flow to be able to support the elasticity of the vagina to enable childbirth. And the vulvar area, enable that to be flexible and healthy. So there's a lot of blood flow in that area, and chemicals absorb through our skin. And it really, that just kind of, we're looking at, the industrial world experimenting on our organic human bodies and the detriments that we're seeing. It's tragic. It's really tragic.
So what's so interesting and people don't understand is the skin is the largest organ. So when you are detoxing, you might have a breakout, a skin breakout anywhere on your body. And that's actually a good sign that the body's trying to expel those toxins out of the skin. Well, it's the same as far as what you're putting on your skin, the lotions, the makeup, the hair product. Why is your hair falling out? Well, are you doing a Brazilian, and are you doing some things to your hair that is causing those toxins to get into the hair root? Your body's wanting to survive. it is going to protect itself. So all of these toxins are burdening the liver. And that liver is not meant to do what it's having to do today with the radiation and the GMOs and the processed foods and all of these things that we're talking about in our cleaning supplies and our laundry detergent, our makeup and our shampoos. All of this is just stacking one on top of the other, and fatty liver disease has skyrocketed, the backed up liver. And then you add into it the spike protein from the last 3 years in the pandemic, which has affected all of us. That has disrupted the ACE2 receptor in the liver. So the liver is having a more difficult time doing what it's meant to do, which can only affect the hormones in a negative way. So we're having to work even harder to feel good. Now, the good news is it's possible, and you can feel amazing on the second half of your life. So it's not all depressing. And that's why I love my job, is that and same with you, Anna, is that we have solutions. But can you talk a little bit about the liver health and how it affects the hormones?
Yeah. So all our hormones are detoxed through the liver and through certain pathways. P450 pathway is most common, and it's disrupted by many over the counter medications, other toxic chemicals. But the liver is our detoxification organ, it is our filter. And in today, even in normal weight individuals, we're seeing fatty infiltration in the liver too. And it's a buildup. It's a buildup of toxins. Toxins are stored in the fat. So they're going to store wherever they have the opportunity to. So the liver is really one of the first things when I'm working with someone to improve her hormones. I'm going to help her heal her gut, her digestive system. She has to poop every day at least once, if not more. That's critical. We have to support liver detoxification with the certain phases to help your body eliminate toxins and release them safely. So it's kind of cleansing the liver so that it's able to use the hormones you're making better and safely, as well as support production of your hormones in a safe and effective way too. So the liver, for me, it's like detoxing the liver. It's, first thing I do with my patients while I'm waiting for their labs, I put them on my ketogene hormone detox. And so that's part of that cleanse, that first step. And oftentimes, Sarah, and you know this too, in working with clients, they come back without getting a prescription of anything. They'll be like, I feel 100% better. I'm already like, no more hot flashes, no more mood swings. I didn't even notice my period coming, or, I just feel better. I've got my memory back. And that's huge. Without a drug, that's the power of our body when it's getting what it needs and we're eliminating the things that are disrupting it. So those toxins, those chemicals, the stress, the negative mindset, all of those things are toxic to our body and our hormones.
I always say that God uses me to help me understand what I need to share with the world. And I mentioned to you last time we talked that a month ago, I was suffering from this ongoing nausea that wouldn't go away, and I couldn't figure it out. And when you're nauseous, I do a liver flush. Try to do it every 6 weeks now, because I feel like the toxins we're being bombarded with are just so overwhelming. And I can feel my body retain water, and just the fat malabsorption or fat metabolism is suboptimal. And so that's when I know I need to do a liver flush. But when I was nauseous, the last thing I wanted to do was a liver flush. However, I thought, you know what? If I'm nauseous, it's definitely connected to my gallbladder, my liver. And I did the liver flush, Anna, and literally the next day, the nausea was gone. My appetite just came way back, but my metabolism shot up. My energy shot up. I'm able to live and do the things I love to do with the energy I love. And knock on wood, I still don't have that nausea. I don't wish nausea on anyone after experiencing it for over a month. I didn't have it when I was pregnant, so I now have a lot of sympathy for those pregnant women who go through it, because you don't know when it's going to be over. It's not like when you have the flu and it's going to be gone in 3 or 4 days. But that was my liver screaming at me, saying, I'm clogged. I'm clogged. And I actually got a scan right after the liver flush, and it showed that there was congestion in the gallbladder, and it was 90% cleared with the one liver flush, and I needed to do a follow-up mini one to do the final clearing, and I did. And now I feel like I'm now able to rebuild my body and feel back to normal. And it just shows you the importance of the liver. It is that organ that it's got to be your best friend, because it's there to help with the thyroid hormones, to help with your female and male hormones, to help with protein and fat metabolism. If you have unexplained weight gain, you might not be breaking down the fat from your food, and here you are eating a ketogenic low carb diet, but your body can't process that protein and the fats, and that could be an issue. And we're all just eating a lot more hidden sugars that we don't even know we're eating, which goes back to the insulin, and then how that affects the female hormones as well. Well, I want to get into more specifically the vaginal health, and I want everyone to know that I've been using Anna's Julva for years, and I ran out, and I hadn't been using it for a while, and I thought, oh, I'm not going to order anymore. I'm probably fine, because I have a pretty healthy appetite in that area. And I was cleaning out my bathroom, and I found one more bottle, and I'm like, oh, I'm going to try it again. And I have to tell you, immediate effect. So day one back on it. Thank you, Anna. This is a fantastic product, and every woman would be just missing out if they don't get it. So why don't you tell us a little bit about Julva and about how vaginal health in general is so important to the intimacy piece?
Yeah, absolutely. And it comes to that discomfort piece, right? Because normally as we age, we'll have laugh lines and smile lines. Well, they're happening down there around the urethra, around the vulvar area, and in the vaginal tissue. So it will thin out and lose blood flow unless we keep it healthy. So it's like basically I created Julva to feed the pelvic floor with appropriate nutrients to kind of turn back the the hand of time, so that you have healthy tissue, healthy natural secretions, and that elasticity that comes back versus thin, stiff, tender, not producing your own moisture. And so when I created Julva for my patients, for myself, and they just it's been amazing. And I put ingredients in it that I use clinically, partly that I was compounding, such as DHEA. So I was using DHEA. And then I added in plant stem cells of the alpine rose, which is this rose that grows in the harsh conditions of the rocky Swiss Alps with harsh weathers. And I was like, oh my goodness, this exemplifies femininity, especially post midlife. And alpine rose stem cells have been shown to decrease, it's a great cosmetic ingredient. It's been shown to decrease the fine lines and wrinkles, improve collagen production, as well as it has antiviral capacity. So it is perfect to keep that for the pelvic floor, to keep up our defense systems, as well as to just restore that tissue and the texture of the tissue. And then DHEA has long been studied for vaginal health and sexual health, and has been very safe. And I would use it in my breast cancer patients initially, is how I started using DHEA, where estrogen was contraindicated. But even we know now that vaginal estrogen is perfectly safe. The issue is that when you're sexually active and you have a male partner, vaginal estrogen will get into the male partner. So you have to be careful of when you use it, time sex. With Julva, you don't have to worry. You can use it even as a sexual lubricant to enhance sexual pleasure during intimacy. And what we've seen is it increases orgasm, increases libido, decreases urinary, those accidental bladder leaks. And I always say you've got to do it with pelvic floor exercises. You've got to continue doing pelvic floor exercises or Kegel exercises till we die. That's important to keep those muscles strong. Like we want to strengthen our biceps and triceps. we want to strengthen the pelvic floor. So it's really important to do those exercises along with using Julva to get these benefits, and you do. And so it's been a beautiful product. Have research on it, have patented it, and have received an Innovation of the Year award for it. And it's just changed so many women's life. And it's natural ingredients without the hormone disruptors that are in many other products, lubricants, vaginal prescriptions, etc.
And you recommend people using it every day, correct?
Every day. Yeah. Ideally every day. You can go down if you've got like optimal results to 3 times a week, but we found that every day really works best. And it's a little bit every day, and it feels good to use. It feels good on the skin. It, makes the tissue, softer, and it's, yeah, less irritated, decrease in, eliminates yeast infections, and helps to decrease or eliminate bladder infections too. Because again, when the urethral sphincter of the bladder loses its strength, not only do you lose urine, but it's more susceptible to bacteria. So commonly women will get more urinary tract infections as they age, and you don't have to fix that.
So I live in Southern California, where everyone is filling their faces with Botox and fillers, and no one's paying attention to down there because they're not seeing it in the mirror like every day. So why not put this on your face for elasticity and wrinkles, right?
Yeah, it can I actually created my Lip Duo formulation, which has my Julva Kiss formula and my Julva regular formula. And I say we take care of your lips above and below the hips, right? So I created more of an ointment for our lips because we get those fine lines and wrinkles. And so that Julva lip product works really good for that. And we can use Julva on the neck, around the eyes. It's very, very safe to use. And again, as a cosmetic. But I remember when I was telling clients to use it on their lips, they're like, oh my gosh, Dr. Ann, I can't use Julva designed for down there, up here. I'm like, you absolutely can. But here, let me come up with this great lip formula, which is more like an ointment and very, very soothing too for chapped lips. Even my daughter, she's a horseback rider. So it's, been 20 degrees. It's been very cold here in Dallas. And so she'll have chapped lips, and she comes asking for it, grabbing my Julva Kiss. And yeah. So, and again, very safe ingredients that I can feel comfortable. And the same thing, like I added in the stem cells for that rejuvenation piece. And the same thing with my balance cream, which is progesterone and pregnenolone, 2 of our mother hormones. And I added in tripeptide, which is anti-aging and also decreases wrinkles and sunspots. And it's really nice for skin texture and appearance and glow. But I think, because as you know, in Southern California, like if it's a cosmetic, we're going to use it. If it's just, okay, well, it's for vaginal health, sexual health, I'm not going to use it. But if you know that there's that cosmetic extra plus for it, we're going to use it regularly. And that's what, for me, that made a difference. And so for my patients, it has as well. Remembering to use it is key.
Okay. Well, let's talk about your pregnenolone DHEA formula, and how is that
Pregnenolone, progesterone. Yeah.
progesterone? Yes.
That's my, let's see if I have it here. That's my balance cream. So this is the new bottle of Julva. I got to send you a new one. And this is balance cream. So balance is progesterone and pregnenolone and tripeptide and some essential oil. So because most women, as in our 30s, mid 30s to 40s, we start to lose progesterone. It's one of the first hormones to decline rapidly, DHEA first, and then progesterone. And it starts to disrupt our sleep. We have more anxiety. We have more PMS symptoms. We have brain fog, memory loss. And progesterone and pregnenolone are 2 of these mother hormones. And we use it. I use it in clients, with or without a uterus, to help balance their hormones.
Okay. I want to talk about diet, because diet is everything, as we know. Insulin resistance, as we talked about, is affecting all the metabolic disease, heart disease, your brain health, but also your hormones. What type of diet are you prescribing your clients that are suffering from intimacy issues?
Yeah, so it's always keto green. Low carbohydrate in these instances improve libido, can improve serotonin production. So keto green for me is my keto alkaline approach to perimenopause and menopause, all the physical changes that we have, because as our progesterone levels start to drop and estrogen starts to drop, our that's when we see all these symptoms: anxiety, insomnia, restlessness, heart palpitations, difficulty concentrating, memory loss. All of these things are part of the perimenopause. Not Also, in addition to the gynecologic symptoms that my patients would come in with, like the irregular bleeding, the ovarian cysts, the heavy menstrual cycles or painful cycles, all of those relate to hormonal imbalance. So, first, I was detox and clean up their diet, organic, whole foods, but lots of the alkalinizers, the greens, and also trying to get them into a state of ketosis periodically. And I always say, Sarah, like, you don't have to stay there, and you have to stay there in a healthy way. I have all my clients check their urine pH all through the day, every time they use the bathroom, to see how their body physiology is changing with what they're eating and how they're thinking. Because you mentioned earlier, cortisol is acidic, and we will see that in our urine. We will see a stressful day. Doesn't matter how good we eat, how many great smoothies we have, our urine will be acidic if we are stressed, perceived or real stress. So it's important to realize that. So we want to get them to that alkaline urine pH. And when you get into ketosis, it's hard to be alkaline. So you really have to work with it, adding extra minerals, mineral salts, like adding in greens, like my Mighty Maca green combination, superfood combination, to help support that alkalinity process and detoxifying process, support your adrenals in times of stress. So for me, keto green is this concept. It's intermittent fasting, healthy, high quality protein, high quality fats, and low carbs, but make sure we're getting enough of those greens that feed our gut, our digestive system, and help support our hormones. So cruciferous vegetables, sprouts, broccoli sprouts are superfood. Beet greens are amazing for our body. I'm going to make some tonight. So, all of those good things, really make a difference. And I say 80% keto green, 10% feasting, and 10% fasting. And that's a really good model to follow.
So you're not advocating long fasts. You're more of intermittent fasting. Have you do you talk to your clients or your patients about the stress that can be associated with longer fasts for women, or where
Yeah.
are you with that?
Yeah, definitely. And through my own playing with this, right? Keto green for a while. Then I was just doing one meal a day with my daughter in the evening. And I was gaining weight again. I was feeling sluggish. And I was like, wait, I'm in ketosis, but I'm really getting acidic. I'm gaining weight. What's going on? Maybe I need to fast more. And then I was extending my fasting, doing longer and longer fast, 24 hour, 48 hours, 72 hours, as much as 5 days of fasting. And it really stressed out my body. And so this was back in 2018, 2019, 2020, when we were moving to Texas. And I was doing these longer fast, and found out, really stressed out my adrenals. So then I got into the research. This was very minimal research on it at the time, and no research really in women. And so I started, digging into research, surveying my clients, checking in with people who have been doing keto green with me for a long time. And I, come to the conclusion that we need to break fast by 10 or 11 a.m. In general, as women, we need to break fast so our cortisol is not soaring and working against us. And that's really important. And longer fast, you have to do with preparation. And really, for me, my longer fasts are typically spiritual fasts. It's for a spiritual reason. When I have a, tough situation, I fast and I pray, and that's part of it. But how we prepare for a fast and how we come out of a fast is equally important. Women have to be very careful, especially in perimenopause, about how long they're fasting
I
and how
thousand
often.
Yes, and I agree. It's very easy for me to go all day without eating, just because I'm on the move, and it takes time, it takes energy, it takes cleanup to make food during the middle of the day. But what I've noticed with me is my metabolism actually goes up when I add in that an earlier meal in the day. I measure my fat burning and with the lumen. And what I've noticed is if I'm really stressed, I'm actually burning carbs. What it's registering that I'm not in fat burning mode. And what's so interesting, I could be on a very low carb diet and I'm sitting here going, what is my body burning? I didn't eat any carbs. Well, what it's burning is my muscle, because when your body runs out of the carbs, it's going to turn into that muscle and break down that muscle, that protein, that expensive protein in the body. And we, especially as women over the age of 50 or even 40, we need to maintain that muscle mass for longevity and for hormonal balance, right? When we lose too much muscle, then our body goes into that survival mode of like, oh gosh, what's happening? I need to conserve. So it's not about calories, everybody. It's about that hormonal balance and that mindset. And I can't stress enough. We touched on it a few times, but that mind space that you're in, that perceived stress, and Anna, you mentioned perceived stress versus stress. I tell my kids all the time, I say stressors are going to be here. When the one you're facing today is gone, there's going to be two others. And it's not what stress you have, it's how you perceive it. Are you going to see it as a 1 or as a 10? Because regardless of how you see it, it's going to come and hit you. So just try to see your stressors as just little molehills so that you can be calm and lower that cortisol and focus on activities that raise the oxytocin. And Anna, I always think about you when I take my dogs for a run in the morning, because dogs are so good at giving you that oxytocin and, you know, that unconditional love. And I wish everyone in our families would have that unconditional love like dogs do. But it's so important to achieve that optimal hormonal balance that will not only help with fighting cancers and diseases, but also helping in the bedroom with your intimacy issues. Anna, we just have a minute or two left. Is there anything that we missed or that you want to make sure we cover?
I think just to follow up with what you just said, it's I call it microdosing oxytocin throughout the day, finding reasons to be grateful, having faith and, in things greater than ourselves, helping others, playing, laughing, doing things you enjoy. Those are things that are, increase oxytocin. So think how you can, I call it oxyplay. Think how you can have oxyplay throughout your day to improve your physiology. It is the most powerful hormone. It changes how you show up in the world.
Absolutely. And where can people find you? We're going to have the link to the Julva and your balance cream as well in the show notes. But where else can people find you and your podcast as well?
Thank you. So dranna.com. So find me at dranna.com, DRANNA.com, and also at The Girlfriend Doctor on social media. And my podcast is anywhere you listen to podcasts. So look for The Girlfriend Doctor.
Amazing. I love being with you on and off the air. And I'm so grateful for all the work that you do and everything that you have done for me. So especially with this. So
Likewise, my friend. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you everyone else for joining us today. If I can help you with your health issues, you can contact me directly through the website, sarabantahealth.com. Happy to put together a protocol for you. Lots of articles and things on intimacy and menopause on the website. So if this is a topic that you're interested in, definitely go over to sarabantahealth.com and search for those topics in the podcast. Join the free group coaching on Telegram with the link below. There is no downside. I teach you on a daily basis with tips and tools to enhance your health, and you will be a part of an amazing like-minded group to support you on your journey, in addition to truly taking control of your health. You can follow me on Facebook and Instagram under Accelerated Health Products, across over 100 podcast platforms under Accelerated Health TV and Radio Show. And my goal, I need your help, is to share my message of healing with everyone around the world. So please help me with that goal and share this podcast with a few of your friends who may need my help. Make sure you subscribe to the channel so you're notified every Monday at 2 p.m. Pacific and Tuesdays at 1 p.m. Pacific for my new episodes. And you can use coupon WELCOME10 for 10% off site-wide at sarabanthealth.com. Thanks again for joining us here, and have a great week.